Elon Musk goes thermonuclear on Media Matters. Hello, this is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Hit that subscribe button. Today, we're going to be talking about X Corporation's lawsuit that's coming against Media Matters. They're an organization, and they recently did a hit piece on X Corporation and their advertisers, trying to create the impression, at least, that if it's a free speech platform, and then therefore there could be some racist content, people can say whatever they want on Twitter, and it's going to appear alongside ads, and that somehow this was a regular experience for users who were using X, formerly Twitter. And because of the Media Matters piece, it has resulted in a number of advertisers, including IBM, Apple, and some others, to withdraw their advertising from X, substantially harming X's revenue. X is a social media platform that depend on advertising in order to raise revenue. And so the question is, did the Media Matters piece in question, was it defamatory? Is it somehow like political speech, protected speech under the First Amendment? And so I wanted to go into this. I need to present my screen. So we're going to share the screen here. We're going to go to the entire screen. We want to bring this over here. Sorry for the delay. Actually need to do this correctly so that we share the correct things here. We'll bring that back over here. We're going to maximize that. We're going to share, bring that back over there. Okay, here it comes. All right, so there's the lawsuit, but we can just start with this Axios article. Elon Musk's X sues Media Matters for America, and this is by Kerry Flynn at Axios Pro. Elon Musk's X Corporation sued Media Matters for America for defamation on Monday after the left-leaning nonprofit released a report on ads on X running next to what she writes, pro-Nazi content, and help trigger an advertiser exodus. Driving the news, the lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas Fort Worth Division alleged the organization's tactics were manipulative and deceptive. X alleged that Media Matters, quote, exploited the platform to have ads appear in this way, which included, quote, excessive scrolling and curating its feed with, quote, fringe content. Quote, the overall effect on advertisers and users was to create the false, misleading perception that these types of pairings were common, widespread, and alarming. And then you have here what they're saying. Here's ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino. She received messages from marketing leaders pushing for her to resign, defended the company in a statement. She said, if you know me, you know I'm committed to truth and fairness, she posted. Here's the truth. Not a single authentic user on X saw IBM's, Comcast's, or Oracle's ads next to the content in Media Matters article. Only 2 users saw Apple's ad next to the content, at least one of which was Media Matters. Data wins over manipulation or allegations. Don't be manipulated. Stand with X, she says. In addition, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said he's opening an investigation into this as well. Now, this is the article in question. This was put out by Media Matters for America, and this is by Henry Hananoki. As Musk endorses anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, X has been placing ads for Apple, Bravo, IBM, Oracle, and Xfinity next to pro-Nazi content. So you can see immediately what the bent on this is that Media Matters wants to say, oh, this is a free speech platform, therefore there's going to be hate speech on the platform, therefore there's going to be ads on the platform, therefore the advertisers should be aware. This is really a kind of a whatever. There's so much hate speech here, you can't possibly put an ad on here without it appearing alongside pro-Nazi content or something like that. And so that's kind of the portrayal. So are they deliberately targeting the advertisers if they put those advertisers' name in the headline and then a day or two later they're pulling their ads? I'd say yes. Another tell on that is the article, at least, is updated to brag about the advertisers withdrawing their funds from X. Here's update 11/16. IBM released a statement into the Financial Times saying that it has suspended all advertising on X while we investigate this entirely unacceptable situation. And then on November 17, Axios reported that Apple is pausing all advertising on X, the Elon Musk owned social network, sources tell Axios. And so then here's the body of the article. There's a lot of allegations against Musk himself. They've been targeting for a while, and they want to say he's somehow anti-Semitic on for what he's saying. So there was a post. So artist formerly known as Eric writes, okay, Jewish communities and pushing for the what he calls dialectical hatred against whites. And that they claim what people want to use against them. And so he's saying that the whole idea of dialectical hatred is being directed against Jews. It can also be directed against whites. So he's saying there's a double standard there. And Elon Musk said, "Oh, you said the actual truth." So these are opinions. You can criticize whatever. You can criticize organizations. Is Elon Musk anti-Semitic? I don't think so. I mean, that's my opinion. I haven't seen anything like that. I don't think this rises to that whatsoever. He's expressing an opinion here. And the question is it, when you study anti-Semitism, are you talking about dialectical hatred being directed against Jews? Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And so can that occur in other directions? And the answer is going to be yes. So you have to, I think in context, I think what he's saying is that hatred can go in many directions. And I don't think that's anti-Semitic to note that people can, whether someone's pro-Nazi to hate Jews or blacks or whatever, white supremacists. But then you could have people who are racist in the other direction. They hate whites or something like that. And so I think that's kind of what he was talking about there. So I don't find that whatsoever. But here it is. They target the advertisers, and so the question is, how do they do this? So you have the lawsuit here, and you have the article, and then it has all these posts. And so you can see, here's some pro-Nazi content. They're saying, see, if there are racists allowed on X, formerly Twitter, then they're gonna, and there's ads on Twitter or X, formerly Twitter, then therefore they're going to have to appear side by side. And however, and you go back to the statement from the CEO of the company, that's not actually what happens. In fact, they have, and in the lawsuit, it describes that they actually have the algorithms to prevent things like this from happening. And that otherwise it's a user curated experience. So you have the X Corporation versus Media Matters. Complaint, defendant Media Matters for America, self-proclaimed media watchdog, that decided it would not let the truth get in the way of a good story it wanted to publish about X Corporation, looking to portray X's social networking platform as being dominated by, quote, white nationalists and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Media Matters knowingly and maliciously manufactured side-by-side images depicting advertisers' posts on X Corporation's social media platform beside neo-Nazi and white nationalist fringe content, and then portrayed these manufactured images as if they were what typical X users experience on the platform. Media Matters designed both these images and its resulting media strategy to drive advertisers from the platform and destroy X Corporation. Plaintiff X Corporation operates the X social media platform with over 500 million active monthly users. It facilitates free expression and open discourse by enabling its users to create and share their own content and to message and comment on other users' posts. These posts appear sequentially in users' feeds, which occasionally include paid advertisements, the overwhelming source of X Corporation's revenue. Users shape their own experiences on X. Users curate the content on their own feeds by choosing who to follow, thereby determining which posts are presented to them. Most users are served a variety of content based on an algorithm that takes into account who that user follows and what that user engages with. But X also provides its users the option to forego algorithmically suggested posts altogether, thereby enabling a user to only view the content that the user chooses to view. As the most prominent online platform dedicated to hosting free speech, X and its predecessor, Twitter, have long been a target of Media Matters. In just the last year, Media Matters has published a series of articles threatening X's relationships with massive multinational advertisers and global publishers, including Amazon, eBay, Major League Baseball, New York Times, Sports Illustrated, Samsung, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Office Depot, Nokia, Dish, Bayer, Tyson's Food, Honeywell, Discovery, FanDuel, Thermo Fisher, National Women's Soccer League, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Atlanta Falcons, Manchester City, DraftKings, FanDuel, T-Mobile, and The Athletic. And this November alone, Media Matters released over 20 articles and counting, disparaging both X Corporation and Elon Musk, a blatant smear campaign. Now, for the last several years, the Media Matters has falsely portrayed Twitter, now X, as a risky, unsafe platform for advertisers. Contrary to these efforts, 99% of X's measured ad placement in 2023 appeared adjacent to content, scoring above the Global Alliance for Responsible Media's brand safety floor. So there's apparently a global alliance for responsible media brand safety floor, and they're saying we meet these metrics. We're not unusual as far, we're above average or something like that. And when it comes to social media platforms, now I wanted to go to how I think what's interesting about how this was particularly, how did Media Matters manage to get the ads to appear alongside kind of pro-Nazi content? And according to the filing, they did it by following pro-Nazi accounts and by following those brands, and then scrolling through the timeline in order to show if the only thing you're following are these, it's like Apple and, kind of neo-Nazi content, eventually you're going to find a pairing where the ad appears next to the content. And that's next. Media Matters set its account, this is from the lawsuit again, to follow only 30 users, far less than the average number of accounts followed by a typical active user, 219, severely limiting the amount and type of content featured on its feed. All of these users were either already known for posting controversial content or were accounts for X's advertisers. That is, 100% of the accounts Media Matters followed were either fringe accounts or were accounts for national large brands. In all, this functioned as an attempt to flood the Media Matters account with content only from national brands and fringe figures, tricking the algorithm into thinking Media Matters wanted to view both hateful content and content from large advertisers. Even this did not produce Media Matters' intended result. An internal review by X revealed that Media Matters account started to alter its scrolling and refreshing activities in an attempt to manipulate inorganic combinations of advertisements and content. Media Matters' excessive scrolling and refreshing generated between 13 and 15 times more advertisements per hour than would be seen by a typical user, essentially seeking to force a situation in which a brand ad post appeared adjacent to fringe content. Eventually, through intentionally evading X's multiple safeguards by curating the content on its feed and then repeatedly attempting to create pairings of advertisements for major brands with controversial content, Media Matters finally achieved its goal. Accordingly, it took screenshots of posts from IBM, Apple, Bravo, Xfinity, Oracle that Media Matters engineered to appear adjacent to inflammatory fringe content. And then then it goes on to defame X. Media Matters hid its manipulation from readers and advertisers. So they wanted it to make it appear as this was a regular thing. So let's see if we can look at the post and see how prevalent does Media Matters say this problem is. Ex-owner Elon Musk continues his descent into white nationalist and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. His social media platform has been placing ads, plural ads, for major brands like Apple, Bravo, NBC Universal, IBM, Oracle, Xfinity, Comcast, next to content that touts Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party. The company's placements come after CEO Linda Yaccarino claimed the brands are, quote, protected from the risk of being next to toxic posts on the platform. So there it is. They're placing ads for major brands like Apple next to content. This is plural, next to content that touts Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party. But then you go back to Yaccarino again, one more time. She says, quote, here's the truth. Not a single authentic user on X saw IBM's, Comcast, or Oracle's ads next to the content in Media Matters articles. So they say, we have the evidence. We know what's on our servers. We know where the ad placements are. We know where the pairings were. We're going to show them all to you when they get this to trial, if it goes to trial. Only 2 users saw Apple's ad next to the content, at least one of which was Media Matters. Data wins over manipulation or allegations. Don't be manipulated. Stand with X. So this is kind of like I seem to recall in the 90s or the 2000s, like one of these nighttime news programs would like fill up an SUV with like gasoline and then crash it and show it exploding or something, in order to kind of create the impression that this was an unsafe vehicle, like, oh wow, they explode on impact or something like that. And so that you could see how that would lead to a misleading impression about the safety of a motor vehicle, except, the organization, the news organization or whatever is packing this, might as well be packing it up with dynamite or something and lighting the fuse and then reporting it and say, oh, wow, this is really dangerous. I think that's kind of what this is. This is so you have a case where on one hand, you're going to say this is defamation. They clearly were bragging about the fact that they had gotten the advertisers to pull. So there's definitely intentionality there, in my opinion. That's what it looks like. It looks like they want to target the advertisers, but that this might not actually be a regular experience. That said, seeing these pairings can only occur on the exceptionally rare case that Media Matters kind of contrive to create an account that could possibly produce this result, or the only thing they're going to see is this or that. You're going to either see the major brands like Apple or whatever, and you're going to see this kind of pro-Nazi content. And so so the question is this defamation, or is this free speech? Are they criticizing Twitter by showing that, well, it could happen. Look, we managed to create the circumstances under which it could happen, even though it appears to be exceptionally rare. If the CEO they're not publicly traded anymore, but I imagine she still has to be truthful to the investors of X. So she says not a single authentic user on X saw IBM's, Comcast, or Oracle's ads next to the content in the article. Only 2 users saw Apple's ad next to the content, and at least one of which was Media Matters. Data wins over manipulation. So if you create the circumstances under which you're reporting the news in order to target a corporation, are you then therefore liable for harming that corporation's bottom line? Or again, is this free speech? You're allowed to criticize. Elon Musk wants to have a free speech platform. Necessarily, that could mean that some hateful content is going to come on there, and there's ads, and they want to criticize those two things. Like, well, why are these corporations, giving ad dollars to X if there's going to be hateful content on there? Except it's noting obviously that other platforms that maybe have different policies, but the same type of content is going to be there. They're not pulling ads from those platforms either. So they're pulling ads from X, but they're not pulling ads from, say, Facebook or YouTube or whatever. Or that there's going to be other platforms that have similar type of content, similar types of advertisements. They could and very well appear alongside one another, but they want to go after Elon Musk because Elon Musk took a stand and said, no, I want to have a more open platform. We want to have more speech. We think that people can criticize hate speech on the X platform. You're allowed to do that too. And so he kind of in the John Stuart Mill kind of tradition of we're gonna you want to have a marketplace of ideas. free speech is so much easier to have free speech. But invariably, what you end up doing when you have a defamation case like this is you have to see if it was protected speech or not. And, X corporation, Elon Musk, they're saying not. And, he had threatened a thermonuclear lawsuit against Media Matters. Here's that lawsuit now. It'll be very interesting to kind of see where this goes. But what do you guys think about this? I think that we have you have a new situation in this country where someone like Elon Musk is going to purchase a corporation like Twitter, turn it into X, make it go private, and then he wants to be able to have a platform where people can come on there. That's going to result in people you don't like, opinions you don't like are going to appear on platforms, but they appear on platforms anyways. And so the idea that you can regulate hundreds of millions of users' speech in the manner that Twitter was doing it, for example, in coordination with federal government agencies and things like that, the censorship that was taking place on particularly on Twitter, thanks to the Twitter files, Elon Musk allowed journalists like Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger, Barry Weiss to look at what was going on with coordination between Twitter and federal government agencies with the goal of suppressing speech, but it was political speech, invariably that was being suppressed. So I think in some ways this is kind of what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But what choice does Elon Musk actually have but to defend X Corporation from these types of allegations if they're going to be attacking the advertisers? And so this is going to be tested now. You're going to have defamation on one hand, versus free speech, which is always going to be the case. Like the defense against defamation is no, I had a First Amendment right to say that. And sometimes these cases win. Johnny Depp just won a defamation suit. And so even though an article appeared in the Washington Post, I believe it was. And so just because an article appears in a newspaper, just because it appears on Media Matters, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not defamatory and that it could harm advertiser, or it can harm revenue, or it can, there can be damages. In this case, there are damages. And so that's kind of what makes that interesting, just from a constitutional point of view. And I guess we'll see if they get the jury trial and then what's the outcome there. I guess we can stop sharing the screen now and we'll just go to the chat. And we'll see what you guys are saying here today. It's almost Thanksgiving. I hope you guys all got your turkeys and things like that. Let's see. We have Tammy G here. She says, thank you. You're welcome. Has Jessica Michael. Elon Musk's technology staff on Instagram verified my account. Okay. I guess there's not much in the chat today. We are going a little late today. So we'll just stick with Tammy G. We're thankful for you too, Tammy, on this Thanksgiving season for tuning in. This lawsuit, it's going to tell you a lot about what type of environment I think corporations stand, whether, targeting advertisers is something that is actually quite risky if you allegedly manipulate your reports to produce the kind of what X is alleging is the defamatory content. And so again, it will be interesting to see how this case unfolds and what evidence X Corporation is going to bring about, how the advertisement, what is in their algorithm. We're going to learn a lot about the new Twitter, X Corporation, and how it maybe potentially how it's changed certain things to avoid the outcomes that Media Matters says is highly prevalent. It doesn't appear to be highly prevalent if Linda Yaccarino, what she's attesting to is actually correct, that you needed to do what Media Matters did in order to produce the pairings that are taking place here. In any event, that's the commentary. This is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and have a good evening.